Welcome to our special series on women in the marine world. In these podcasts, you will hear from women who are involved in science or the exploration of the ocean, about their experiences and their messages for the future. On this occasion, we have also collected questions from the younger generation and have asked our guests to answer them. And if your curiosity has been piqued, then head onto our website and send us your question. We'll pass them on to the team and get them answered. We hope you enjoy the stories from all of these amazing women doing great things.
My name is Sieglinde Gruber, and I have been working in and for the European Commission for 30 years. And prior to that, in Germany and Italy for public and private sectors. So I am a retired Commission official, but I am and have become a friend and passionate about the ocean, the health of the ocean. And it's actually within that context that I also am talking to you today to see how many girls and how many women are very active and really are drivers of change for the future of our status of the ocean. So to ensure really that the ocean is healthy. Well, I must tell you that according to figures I found at the IMO website, today only 1-2% of the global seafarer workforce are women. And I was quite shocked when I saw that figures. There are some other figures I found, but it's only slightly better. It's 1.5%. So it's still really very, very low. And maybe one of the biggest reasons is that women in the maritime sector do really not know that it can be a very attractive and available career path. And if we link that as well to the fact that nearly half of the current workforce is now eligible for retirement in the next 10 years, there has never been a better time for women to enter the maritime industry and the blue economy and change this demography and increase those percentages. We know that industry needs educated and trained employees who are up to date with the most current technology and management practices. So we also need to debunk some of the most commonly held myths about women not being right for traditionally male-dominated professionals and occupations. So one of the myths often around is women are afraid to work in male-dominated industries because they are afraid to do physical work or get dirty. Well, I don't think that is the case, but okay, this is my personal opinion. But women really like and enjoy to work with their hands, just like men. They're not at all afraid to get dirty on the job. Think of women working in the fisheries sector and doing the whole processing. That already counterbalances this myth. Another myth is that women don't belong in male-dominated industries because you need to be big, strong, and mechanically minded to succeed. When employers recruit, they normally look for employees that offer something different and valuable. Women provide new perspectives and new leadership styles that can be very beneficial to a typically male-dominated environment. So success is much more about using the intellect than the muscles. And anyone who is determined can make a career for themselves. I think it is important. This is a message really for the younger generation. Never give up. The more women there are in these male-dominated sectors, for the better. Women rising to become leaders in the industries of the blue economy is essential to inspire future generations and show that nothing is off limits. Another myth is that women don't want to work in the maritime sectors because they believe that positions are low paying and not offer the potential for career advancement. Now, also for that, I would say that times have changed. But what is essential is determination, because it is still male-dominated. And it takes every day's commitment to prove yourself, ourselves, that it is really worthwhile to rise through the ranks. So it is, yes, an effort. But as I said before, never give up. Everyone can make it. And there are attractive career paths. So I would invite a lot of girls and young women to go, to enter, to explore and exploit these new job opportunities. And it was interesting for me to see that on 11th of February, the UN had actually declared the Women in Science Day. And there were quite a lot of interesting events and keywords like equal rights, empowerment, equal access, were really like a leitmotif throughout the whole discussions. But one issue strikes me as well. We don't need to talk to and amongst women. We need to talk to and with men to discuss these different subjects. That is why it is important that at the highest level, at the UN level, these issues are still drawn to the highest political attention. And there were some quite interesting resolutions adopted, which I just quote because I read through, that the integration of women in science and sustainable development still persists. These challenges are related to several factors: policy making, implementation instruments, enabling conditions, financing, capacity building, capacity strengthenings and skills provision, research and innovation, integration as well, and science and peace relationships, science diplomacy issues as well, which I found very interesting. And certainly there is this strong evidence that the Sustainable Development Goals cannot be achieved if the situation for fully integrating girls and women in science and technology and in all the Sustainable Development Goals are not changed. So I think that was very interesting. And together with that, one issue struck me. We must really, I think, and that was a call for action to the policymakers in the different countries. It is very, very important to recognize that investment in women and girls in science is a process and not only a project with a starting point and an end. The process, by its nature and based on the constant political need and political will and support for women and girls in science, technology, and innovation, because they are really 50% of what fosters sustainable economic growth, job creation, and they enhance the well-being of our societies. This has also been reflected, and I now move from the UN towards the European Union. In this new political context in the European Union, gender equality is not new, but because it is a core principle of the European Union, but it's not yet a reality. So while it's not a reality in developing countries, it's not even a reality in the European Union. So we should not fool ourselves. So how can we reach our full potential in society, business, and politics as a whole if we do not use all our talents and diversity? Because we only use, for the moment, half of our population, half of the energy, half of the power. And as the President Ursula von der Leyen said, that is not good enough. And this has also been very well reflected by the colleagues dealing with the marine and maritime sector in the European Commission, when they issued in 2021 a new approach for the sustainable blue economy in the EU. It has included 3 types of actions to promote gender balance in the maritime professionals, to invest in data collection, consolidation, and analysis on women working in the maritime sector, and to increase women's representation in the workforce and raising their profile in the formal governance of the blue economy, because there is still a lack of high-ranking leadership positions covered by women. And this has been translated also in a call for proposal, which was issued last year, Women in the Blue Economy 2022. The actions funded will help all the different sectors of the blue economy to undertake a structural change with the aim to facilitate and promote the inclusion of women. But it will be very interesting to see what is actually the outcome, which projects have been selected. So there is really hope that a lot of investment has been gone into that. And this has been funded by the European Maritime Fisheries and Aquacultural Fund. Let me now go in a more general way. So I go from the specific marine and maritime, where unfortunately I didn't find disaggregated statistic except for the aquaculture sector, how many women are active in the different sectors, in the maritime transport, etc., in the EU. This is something that those call for proposal hopefully is going to change in future. But when we talk about women and the lack of women in the maritime science and technology driven sectors, of course, we cannot not embed it in the overall general science and technology activities and strategies to promote more girls and more women in science and technology. And for that, the Commission has really taken a lot of very concrete steps to address these challenges through the Framework Programme for Research and Innovation, Horizon Europe, which is also in line with strategy, which is called a new European research area for research and innovation in the different member states. And this also backs up new gender equality strategy of the European Commission from 2020 to 2025. And so this has been followed by a whole series of different actions, activities. And it goes hand in hand with supporting gender equality also through other EU programs like the Erasmus Plus, or with the cohesion policy funds, or the rights and values program. But let me go back to Horizon Europe, because it's really interesting to see how the Commissioner Gabriel really wants to make a big difference through this push to improve the gender equality. So first of all, it is a cross-cutting principle, and it really aims to eliminate gender inequality and intersection socioeconomic inequalities throughout research and innovation systems in Europe, including by addressing unconscious bias. We have a lot of bias, and systemic structural barriers. So it is really mainstreamed. It becomes a requirement by default across the whole program. And it becomes even now an eligibility criteria. I will come back to that. So specific funding is going to be made available for actions supporting the development of inclusive gender equality plans in research and innovation organization across member states and associated countries. And this, since 2022, has become a specific eligibility criteria. So there's no way round. Whoever wants now to really get funding needs to address this. There is as well currently a call, and special funding will also be allocated for gender studies and intersectoral research, in particular in Pillar 2 of Cluster 2, Culture, Creativity and Inclusive Society. And this is not new. actually already with Horizon 2020, we have seen some quite interesting examples of projects which developed this so-called gender plans. But now, as I said, it is a must. There are other specific actions taken. For example, if there are equally ranked proposals, the gender balance among researchers involved in projects is really strongly encouraged, and it will be taken into account for equally ranked proposals. Then there are flagship measures and activities promoting gender equality under the European Innovation Council, including a target of 40% women-led companies invited to pitch their projects, a target of 50% women among members of advisory structures, a prize for women innovators, and a dedicated initiative to support women-led startups. And of course, because these are all bottom-up initiatives, they are equally valid for the whole marine and maritime areas. So again, this is an invitation. There have been some very interesting ongoing projects under Horizon 2020 developing this gender equality plans. And one was dedicated to the Baltic gender, so a Baltic consortium on promoting gender equality in marine research organizations. And it was led by Geomar. And the other one looked into gender equality innovating institutions in the Mediterranean basis, and it's called Target. So this can also be taken as examples if anyone is interested. The last issue I wanted to pick up is a very interesting report. The latest edition has been published very recently, which is the so-called She Figures 2021. And it's the gender in research and innovation statistics and indicators. This is a report which has been published since 2012 and looks into the latest available statistics to monitor the state of gender equality in research and innovation across Europe and beyond. And it provides comparable data and an analysis. So there's a wealth. But again, fisheries is together with agriculture. It's not a separate. So, as I said, we might have quite some work to do in the future. And hopefully the projects which are in the pipeline will shed a lot of light and bring very, very good results. But what is interesting when one looks into this, and which is very encouraging, the statistics, one sees that there is really an upwards trend. So the situation is getting better, even though a lot can still be done. And of course, there are issues like recruitment or the type of contract which are given to young female PhD candidates or postdocs, which in many countries are still limited to time. They do not allow for, on the one side, to set up a family, and on the other side, to have a structured, well-paid career path. And this is, of course, something which cannot be neglected. So a lot still needs to be done, particularly in some countries. I think to have women working in these very interesting sectors and to have women working along and in complementarity with men can only add a fantastic value, because women are multitasking, they are pragmatic, they are generally positive, and they can change the world. So I think that we should really give them all the benefits of this world to enable them to take up their positions. And let me now go and try to answer two questions which have been sent. And one comes from Freddie, 9 years old, from Germany. And the question is, how many species live in the ocean? Well, that is a fantastic question. And I think we should really put it out to our top scientists, because I'm not sure that anyone really knows how many species live in the ocean. Every day, there are new creatures, new plants, new species being identified. At the same time, every day we do know there is a loss of species. So it's very, very difficult, I think, to quantify. But we could actually try to start off a kind of a game or a competition. So this is a suggestion, Louis, from me to you, to get that answer, but not only to get the answer, to draw the attention to the fact that how important it is that we continue to invest in research by men and women. Here, the question is wider, the issue is wider, that it is so important to categorize them, to be able to see what is the wealth of the biodiversity, the marine biodiversity that we have, and do everything that we don't lose it. And the second question is from Erin, 15 years old, from England. One piece of advice that you, Erin, could actually do for the environment. Well, I would just say, open your eyes, see how important the environment is for the survival of your generation, of even the younger generation. And let's really join forces, because everyone can make a difference in doing tiny little actions, whether it is not to put plastic in the sea or even in the wrong bin when you collect the waste, or switch off the light, because we also need to save the city. We need to be much more mindful when it comes to how can we save resources, because resources are not endless, and we know that now. So I think you can become a great advocate for a healthy environment just by taking on every day something, bringing it to the school, discussing it with your friends, discussing it through your social networks, and then you become as well part of this whole movement, which is so much needed, because every voice counts.
We hope that you've enjoyed today's episode and look forward to seeing you next time. You can follow the AtlantECO project on our website on www.atlanteco.eu, and you can also find us on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. All the links and information on the project and on today's episode is in the show notes. AtlantECO is a project funded under Horizon 2020, a European Union research and innovation programme.